for that, and it needs to go strictly to the fire and police. You have a lot of people that come up here that aren't from this city, and they utilize everything here. I think we should have them pay for something. I mean, I've talked to I talked to the fire department. They said most of the issues are from people not from our city, right? Accidents, stuff like this. So why not make people that aren't from our city put some skin in the game?
Thank you.
Half a penny, or I'm sorry, 0.5%.
Mr. Garner, thank you for your patriotic attitude. I appreciate it. There was a huge homeschooling boom when the pandemic hit. And we've seen, my wife and I homeschool our boys. And we've seen a lack of infrastructure. They really struggle on things like the library, a little outdated, And with the amount of homeschoolers, what would you do to support that community?
Are you meaning new libraries, or?
The library needs some serious improvement. They need places where they can convene in a homeschool community. They do it once a week. They struggle finding facilities that can facilitate that.
I'm absolutely all about that.
They need a lot of support when it comes to just things like paper, pencils, curriculum, things like that. It's a big burden on people. I see the bills.
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, if there's a way we can help out with that, I'm all in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I may have missed part of what you said, so I do apologize. But I do wonder if the issue of election integrity has come up at all, and what your thoughts are on election integrity, and if you would have any influence over that, and if you do, how you would try to implement election integrity. I don't know. You choose.
Oh, geez. We'll give it to two of them. How's that? Nina and Mark.
Perfect.
Lecture integrity is a big issue. Unfortunately, the city council does not have any influence on how the elections are conducted. However, if we had any way to help that issue, I certainly, like everybody in this room, would participate in trying to make sure that our elections are secure.
Thank you.
I think it's a huge issue. I firmly believe our last presidential election was stolen. During the last election, I personally drove my ballots to San Bernardino and watched them go into a box and then track them. So I'm very, very concerned.
Thank you.
I'd like to address this to Mr. Gardner. Our family's been here since '47, so I've seen a lot of changes in this town. And I noticed how the city, they do improve by creating a lot more development. And I'm wondering, how is our resources going to be able to sustain all this development that's going on with the water issues and the drought issues? I'd like to know your opinion on that.
Well, that's a good question. Not really sure how to answer that one. We're going to have to basically take a look at that, and if we've got to spend more money on infrastructure, I mean, we're going to have to do that. Well, I'm not sure what's going on with the water. I mean, I don't know what's going on with that, so I can't answer that.
For Ms. Long, I went to your website and I watched the video that you have up there. It's very well done. You mentioned in there that you had the support of Fire and Police Authority. Could you say specifically who those authorities are?
I have been endorsed by Sherry Stewart, who is a retired deputy chief for the Sheriff's Department. I have also have support from Shannon Dykus, who has not officially endorsed me. And I've also have support from Bill Cates, who is also another retired deputy sheriff who also served here in Yucaipa. I also been endorsed by David Avila, who is also with CAL FIRE.
Thank you.
Mrs. DeGroot, thank you very much for running, and my question is to you, since you're a finance person. Are you willing to not take any grants from the state and tell the tyrant to go pound sand?
Until what? I didn't get the last part. The whole punchline.
Are you willing to keep our power at the local level and tell Newscomb to go pound sand?
Got it now. Actually, that probably wouldn't be too difficult because we are not, the city of Yucaipa is not supported much by the state in that they are continuing to take our local power away. And one of those is a subject that we mentioned before here, and that's density of housing. They continue to try to force us to erect more of that. So we're not exactly in bed with the state. Now the county is different. The county is very supportive of us and has actually forward funds to help different infrastructure processes here. And the city has been, in the past, very good at getting grant money from the county and from the federal government. So Jay Albernorth, I pronounced his name correctly, Albernorthi, has recently secured $2 million for the city of Yucaipa for the Wilson Basin project that you see on Oak Glen Road.
Thank you.
Mr. Venable, and if I don't get much of a line, I'll ask this one to all of you so you can all be thinking about it. What is your position on a private business hosting family-friendly, including kids, drag events, either on public property or maybe more challenging in their private business?
You know,
And the reason I ask is I've got pals in very conservative states like Idaho, and this is coming. And so if we haven't thought about it, we better have a position on it.
I'm a Christian, and I'm a Christian 100%. And in my beliefs, you know, it's God first, and I'm a God-fearing man. And so if it doesn't fall into that category and stuff, I'm not for it. I'm for God and our country first.
And maybe you haven't thought all the way through how we would act on it as a city official, but it gets a lot more challenging when you're a city official and having to act on it, which is why I'm going to ask each of you, and we'll continue thinking about this, because it will be an issue at some point.
Thank you.
My question is for Mr. Venable and Mr. Garner. How many city council meetings have either one of you attended in the past year?
4.
0.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just information, last Monday of every month, Yucaipa Water District has meetings. You'll find all about the water in Yucaipa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, drag queen story hour, in short. What's your position on this?
Can you say the question again?
I will. I'd be happy to. What is your position on private businesses hosting family-friendly, including kids, drag events?
Well, I think it's even sad you're asking us this question, that we even have to have this conversation. I mean, it gets a little tricky if they're on private land. I don't know what you can do to stop that. It's unfortunate that anyone would ever want to do that. in general and then also include kids. I don't understand it. If it was in public land, hopefully they need a permit and we can deny it.
And I.
Thank you.
I would encourage you to look at what Riverside County is doing because they're dealing with it pretty effectively.
Mr. Garner, my question to you is, the San Bernardino County head sheriff has a lot of power. He's very conservative, and I prefer keeping the Yucaipa Police Department with the county because I think we're going to get better backup. What's your position on that?
I agree with you 100%. But I think that we need to have a chat with them. I think they need to step it up a little bit here in Yucaipa. There's some things going on that I don't like, but I'm 100% for that.
Thank you.
My question's for Mr. Taylor. Change the subject a little bit. Mr. Taylor, could you tell me about your position on commercial growth, or when are we ever going to get a Walmart here?
My family, we're an anti-Walmart family. We're more Target. I know there's discussion about a couple warehouses coming. I believe they're going to be Amazon. If they come in the current position they're set for, I think it makes some sense to take it. Again, I met with Ray Casey to really understand what it would mean to Yucaipa not to have one when the cities on either side of us have them or getting all the revenue, but we still are going to have all the traffic, all the vans coming in, all the semis going down the freeway, and yet we're missing out on. He estimated approximately $8 to $10 million a year in revenue.
Thank you.
Hey, my question is for Ms. Dragoo, and actually I was going to say or parlay on the warehouse conversation, and this is a question that I would actually have for each of the council members if I'm able to have time, but what are your thoughts on that freeway corridor specific plan where they are planning on building the warehouses, all the multifamily housing over on the other side of the freeway? I believe they have, 4,000 apartment units or high-density units scheduled to be built on the other side of the freeway, and I believe they've approved a 300,000 square foot warehouse and have another, million square foot or 500,000 square foot warehouse in the works right now?
I'm not aware of the housing, the 4,000 unit, is that what you said, 4,000 unit warehousing? I'm not aware of that yet, but I'll certainly ask the question. On the Amazon warehousing, fulfillment centers, I understand there is 2 that they're looking at putting on the other side of the pumpkin farm, down where the water treatment plant is, or near there. And the other one is off County Line Road. And the question about the traffic is the #1 question on my mind, and I haven't seen the detail on this. But unless they solve the traffic problem that's going to be created, which is an immense job, I don't think we can handle it. And on the one on County Line Road, the problem becomes more so because the freeway access at that point is in Riverside County. So now we have to get Riverside County involved in order to solve the problem. So I think we've got a long way to go before any of this comes to fruition.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to do 2 more questions, and then that'll be the city council section.
Make it 3. One last. We got these last 3 questions here, and then we're going to cut it off for questions today.
I'm going to change it up just so you don't know where I'm going. Matt, this one's for you. I like a lot of your answers that you were given early on. Gas is almost $6 a gallon. Inflation is through the roof. Any tax increase is a non-starter for me, so my challenge to you is to reconsider that. I don't know, but there is a question in there somewhere. Thank you.
Well, the tax thing was the worst case scenario. And like I said, I'm against raising taxes, absolutely. But that would be that'd be the one thing that I would do. It would be raise taxes for the police and the fire. But basically, I think we could find it somewhere in the city. I think,
I might reveal myself to be a bad guy in saying this. It's there. There's money there. My challenge is don't raise taxes, even for fire and police.
I hear you.
Thank you.
This is to all of you. I'm wondering how many of you have attended a planning commission meeting in the last year? Okay, good.
Thank you. This will be the last question here.
Question for the panel. How would you guys marry school safety with the city council? Does it really affect much of what you guys do, or is that a school board question? Anyone care to?
Can I elaborate real fast on what he's saying, if I can, Tom? How does the city council intend to work with the school board with regard to school safety, school resource officers, et cetera?
Is that to a specific candidate? Last question, all the panel can answer. We'll start with Nina, please.
The city provides for the school district the resource officers. And I know that this last year it went from 1 to 2, but the school board controls the safety process that is at each school and how it's implemented. So the council does not come into play other than providing the officers that the district requires.
Thank you.
Somebody's looking at me like maybe I'm not saying it correctly. Sorry. So ask it from the school board.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm for security at our schools, 100%. I think we should have armed guards there, protecting our kids. You never know what may happen. You know, things are going sideways in our country. It's horrible. And I am for armed security to protect our kids. And I would be willing to work with the school board 100%.
Thank you.
Safety of our children is paramount. As a parent, we expect when we send our kids to school that they're going to be coming home and safe, and not to have to go through a threatening, violent occasion. But we have to be prepared. Just like we have to be prepared for earthquakes, I think we need drills for the ungodly occasion that something drastic like that would ever come into Yucaipa. So I think we need to have the safety officers and the police officers educate our kids what to do. And I also think on the cell phones, all the kids have their cell phones. There needs to be immediate emergency texts sent to all the children, all the students, where the gunman may be or where the incident is happening, so that they can avoid that area and be safe.
Thank you.
I certainly believe that the school board and city council should work together. There should never be you or them. It should always be we. As far as the safety of kids in schools, I think armed police, at least at the junior high and up level, sadly, I think we need it. I mean, it is what it is at this point. It's very sad, but I think it's a necessity.
You know, I think that we should have been addressing this back when we took Jesus out of our church, out of our schools. When we took God out of our schools, look what happened. But now we're addressed with it, and I would work with all the school board to help out whatever we can, you know, to keep our kids safe. So, you know, maybe we set up meetings with the school board and see where we can go from there.
Thank you very much. It was, you know, let's give these guys a round of applause. It's not easy coming up here and just answering questions off the cuff. So We thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. At this time, we're going to give each of these candidates a 1 minute to close, a closing statement. If you have other questions, we're going to excuse everybody around 2:20 to 2:30, and we're going to go back downstairs. And it'll be a one-on-one session. You can come up and ask the candidates whatever you like and have some personal engagement with them at that time. So the 1 minute closing statements will begin now, and we'll start with you again, Mr. Venable, and we'll work across the table.
I want to thank everybody for coming out and asking tough questions and, to get to really know us. I hope to be able to meet everybody and I hope to do a good job for you guys. I'm willing to work with everybody. I've been in the community for 35 years actually. So, and I appreciate every one of you guys.
Yeah, I also wanted to thank everyone for coming out. I just want to let you know that I am a diehard Republican conservative. I think CRT is the most awful thing ever. I intend to get in and deal with some of the things that are plaguing Redlands and San Bernardino with graffiti and homelessness and trash. I just think it's just awful when I go into those cities. I just think their leadership is asleep at the wheel, and those are things I would want to combat instantly.
Thank you.
I feel the citizens of Yucaipa are entitled to responsible, fair, and honest local government. The Code of Ethics asserts these core values: honesty, lawfulness, respectfulness, fairness, teamwork, stewardship, and accountability. I have lived my whole life as a woman of faith with these core values, and I want to bring those values into our City Hall. I am passionate about helping others in our city, and I'm thankful to report that my dear friend's daughter is a survivor and is cancer-free today. She's now a senior in high school and looking forward to graduation and a beautiful life ahead of her. Thank you for your support and trust that you have shown me. I've enjoyed walking and knocking on doors and getting to meet you personally, because I feel it's very important for you to know me so that I can represent you as a true public servant for our city.
Thank you.
Well, I'll make it a mission of mine to clean up these streets with the homeless. I definitely want to fund the police and fire. I mean, it's a mission of mine. I'm real passionate about cleaning up the streets. I mean, it's horrible. Big issues. I want to keep Yucaipa rural. That's a big deal for me too. I'm in ground zero. I don't want to look at a bunch of whatever. It's horrible. That's basically all I have to say. Thank you.
As I said in the beginning, I would like to contribute to this city to help it continue to grow into the kind of town that is a place for family, business, and when I say grow, I don't mean become a metropolitan area. I mean controlled growth, preserving those things that make this city so dear to all of us. I too like that rural effect and small town effect, and if we do it right, we can keep those things also. One other comment: years ago, when my husband and I used to go to the voting polls, we would go to a neighbor's house in those days and take our children with us. And what it meant to me and what it means to me today is that we are the people, and we are for the people. And that is our basic constitution. It was then, and it is now.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate everything, guys. We're going to excuse you. If you're drinking out of the cup, please take it with you. We're going to stand up, maybe stretch for a minute. We're going to get the school board candidates up here, and then we're going to go through that same process. Hello, hello. Thank you, guys. All right, if everybody could get wrestled back in their seats, we're going to get moving forward here with the school board candidates. Give about 30 seconds for everybody to get back to their seat, and we're going to moving forward. All right, guys, here we go. So this portion of the event is going to be about school board. So the rules of engagement for the questions are the same that you just sat through. So I'm not going to go through those again. What I am going to do is introduce the candidates, and then we're going to also give them a 3-minute opening. We'll start from the left, work to the right. So here we go. So from Trustee Area 1, there's Lauren Hernandez. Sorry, four. I was going to screw up something at some point in time. So, Trustee Area 4, Lauren Hernandez. Trustee Area 5, we have Dr. Heidi Strickwerda. Bob Miller. And Terry Boone, MD. So we will start with you, Heidi. 3-minute opening, please.
So my name is Dr. Heidi Strickwerda. I'm running for school board here, Trustee Area 5. And I want to thank the Civil Review Board for putting this on today, and Pastor Randy and Eric for your leadership in this, and for all of you who are here and interested in learning about us as candidates. So now more than ever, Yucaipa-Calimesa Joint Unified School District needs an experienced educator who understands the ins and outs of the educational system to inform and implement effective and timely policies that will help to guide our outstanding programs that exist and also ensure that we are meeting the diverse needs of our student population, because each child is important. I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a mother of boys. I have 6 boys of my own who are learning how to be successful and are currently successful in their plights. My oldest is a 6th grade elementary school teacher, and my youngest attends Parkview Middle School here in Yucaipa. I've been a community member for over 20 years, and we are very invested here. I also have a son who serves proudly and is in the Navy. Educationally, I have an extensive resume. Education is what I know best. I started teaching a long time ago because I homeschooled my children. I heard some of you talk about homeschoolers, and I relate to you. We went through Olive Tree, which I don't even know if it's part of Yucaipa, but it's a place that helped me when I was homeschooling way back. I taught all my boys how to read and to love to read. There was a movement back in 2009 where they were trying to shut down the homeschoolers because they wanted to have homeschool parents to have credentials. So that's when I decided to go to school, because I was not going to allow the state to dictate what education was best for my children. So I went to Crafton Hills, then I went to Cal Baptist, where I obtained my liberal arts, my master's in early childhood development, my master's in educational leadership, my multiple subject degree, my single subject in English, my administrative credential, all at Cal Baptist. Then I went to the University of Redlands, where I obtained my doctorates in educational justice, where I served there in the Masters of Teachers and Learning, teaching our future teachers how to be excellent. Professionally, I have worked in the private, public, and charter schools. I'm currently a principal in San Bernardino City, where I teach my students that anything is possible if you believe and with hard work. So I work with parents, students, teachers, and staff to create hope in my community. So as a community member for over 20 years, an experienced educator who has the skills and knowledge to ask those tough questions of how and why, I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had prepared a speech on all the points on my flyer, but 2 weeks ago, I was interviewed and I was asked the question by an influential member of the school district. Why do you think you have the right to indoctrinate the students with traditional American values versus critical justice agenda? Under the umbrella of critical theory is critical race theory, gender theory, explicit sex ed, so this does touch on a lot of the points on my flyer. Why is it that people are falling prey to critical theory, destructive ideology? It is fear. Critical theorists are against anything that creates a stable society. Tolerance and live and let live is a form of oppression. Immigration, assimilation, and nationalism is a form of oppression. Great expectations, disciplines, and high standards are a form of oppression. Despair has been thrust on our children with no hope because the world is going to end with climate change. We have no safety with no prosecution of crimes. There are no job prospects because the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates until they cause unemployment to decrease demand for goods because according to them, demand for goods is what's causing inflation instead of their free-for-all printing of money. The kids turn to depression and drugs. The Marxists plan to crush traditional American values and to destroy America. America has halted this nonsense in the past because of a strong middle class and up until now equal protection under the law and the Constitution, which the Founding Fathers wrote to limit government and put in checks and balances. The first 10 amendments of the Constitution is the Bill of Rights to make clear what the government could not do. The Founding Fathers came from tyranny, and they know what it is like to work hard to provide for their families, then pay taxes and watch the authorities squander that on things that would never benefit them and in some cases harm them. Vaccine mandates, anyone? They fought a revolutionary war, won their freedom, and their stand against tyranny was enshrined in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What God wants for His children is the same thing I want for your children. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate you all taking the time out of your busy weekend. I'm Lauren Hernandez, and I'm running for Area 4. My background is I've worked for the school district for 25 years. I recently retired just this past November. I started in the classroom. I worked in the fiscal side. I also worked for the San Bernardino City School Police Department. They have their own armed officers. And then I went over to county schools. So I have a knowledge of all the districts within San Bernardino County. I chose to bring my family out here, my second generation family out here, to have them be involved in a smaller community. I was raised and my children were raised in San Bernardino. We wanted to get out of there. I don't want what's going on in San Bernardino and other larger cities to come to our city. This is a small, wonderful city, a great community, and I just want to be there for the kids. We need people who understand what children need and what families need. While I was in San Bernardino, I was involved in a lot of the different things that were going on. I am a city brat. Fire and police are my background. And I think that we need to bring that back to our city and to our schools. Our children are our future. And if we're not helping them to be the most successful students they could be, what's going to happen to our community in 10 or 20 years? I'm retired. I have a full-time position of taking care of children. They are my priority, not just my grandkids. When I say my kids, when I speak at the board meetings, it's because all of your kids and your grandkids are my kids. I want their voices heard. I want all parents' voices heard. You do have a right to be involved in their education. You have a right to know what's going on. You have a right to know that when you send your littles to school, they're safe. They should be in an environment that is safe, clean, and healthy for them. I've been speaking at the board meetings for the last 4 or 5 months about some of the situations just at the high school, And when I'm knocking and walking and canvassing and meeting all of you great people in Area 4, I'm finding there's even more issues that I'm not even involved in. I've talked with teachers, I've talked with coaches, I've talked with classified staff, and I've talked with parents, and they all have the same concern. Our kids are not safe. The kids are not being put first. I think we need a parent involvement on the school board. I'm a grandparent, so I've raised plenty of kids, not just my own, and I think I have a very unique perspective and an insight to bring to the board, because this is family and we're community, and I definitely put those first. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and it's good to see everybody. I feel like I came home. This is where I was baptized, and I can't come to Grace Point without mentioning Pastor Randy and his staff, and thank you for everything you provided today with CRB. And my friend Wendell, who has to get recognized at every event, so I just wanted to say hi to Wendell, just to say hello to my friend. My friends Greg and Sydney. I see Josh back there. There's Maggie. It's good to see some friends, Mr. Rexstat. Good to see you guys. So many friends and from back in the day. So first of all, I'll start. Most of you know me that have been here. I'm a retired police chief from the beautiful city of Colton, that quiet little town in the Inland Empire where nothing ever happens, right? But I rose from the ranks. I worked patrol all the way to chief. I spent the most of my time working gangs. And what I learned working gangs is that there were many students that came through about 14, 15 years old, started getting involved with gangs, and I would sit down when I interview them and, hey, write me a sentence. Write me a clear sentence. Let me see. Tell me about where you live. Couldn't do it. Tell me, here, read this sentence for me. Read this paragraph. Can you read it? Had a tough time. Here's some basic math. Try this. Can you do that? And what I found out, if they didn't have an education, they didn't do very well, and they ended up turning to gangs, and that, you know what that leads to. Recidivism, and once you're in the system, you're in the system. It's hard to get out. But what did I learn from my faith over that time? My values are this: virtue, character, doing things legal, morally, and ethically correct. Any decision I make, no matter who supports me, is my decision that I pray on first, and that I use good virtue, good character, and good morals in everything I do as a decision maker. Clearly, I have broad support across the city. I have all the city council members' support. I have the county superintendent's support. I have the school board support. I have San Bernardino Employee Benefit Association support. I have the San Bernardino GOP support, and I have the Yucaipa Educators Association, which is the local teachers union. Many of my friends are great local teachers, and they are the pipeline to understanding how things happen with students and families. It's a good relationship to have. I've had many people that have talked to me and said, Bob, you're supported by the teachers union. Well, the teachers I know, I'm proud to be supported by them. I know other candidates tried to get the support also, but I believe in working with teachers. I know the staff very well. I'm blessed to have a wonderful wife, Kathy Miller, who's a wonderful principal at Valley Elementary and has been the beacon of how to run a school with a good team, and our friend Chris Rexstat, who has teamed up with Kathy and just doing a wonderful job. Got a couple minutes left. What do I stand for? So number one, school safety and security. I'm a retired police chief. That will be number one on my agenda. We need more SROs in the schools, clearly. Fiscal responsibility, parent voice and choice. And I'll close with that all kids are college ready and or maybe ready to do something else in their career. Maybe they want to be electricians. Who knows? Okay. Automotive work, whatever it is to get them ready. So I want to thank you. They're giving me the sign, and I look forward to any questions from anybody at any time. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to watch you on that mic, Bob. I'm gonna be cutting you off here and there. I'm just messing. So we're gonna jump into the Q&A. Same style that we did just a minute ago. Just remember, no personal attacks. All questions need to be pointed to the candidate. If you want another candidate to answer that same question, just get back in line and ask that other candidate the question. So if you guys would come forward, and we'll get this rolling. Real quick, for those that weren't here for the first section, you have 15 seconds to ask your question. The candidates have 45 seconds to respond.
Thank you all for being here today. My name is Anita Rhodes, and I represent the Banning Beaumont Cherry Valley Tea Party, of which many of our members live and reside in Yucaipa Calamasa School District. And I'm here to ask two questions, particularly of the three that are running for, I forget which district it is, but Dr. Heidi, Dr. Terry, and I think Mr. Miller. My questions to you are, what is your thoughts about the Marxist LGBTQ agenda and its influence in education today? And would your careers be impacted if you put our kids and their welfare above the school board or the union's dictates? Thank you.
That was directed to who? Okay. We'll have to just direct it to one person, then we'll have them do it again so other people have the chance to ask the same question, okay? Thank you.
What I would do is, number one, I don't think any of the critical theory should be at the lower grades. In the high school, the only thing that I would want to allow is debate, so that a debate could happen where Turning Point USA debates with somebody who wants to debate the critical theory, okay? As far as my career is already on the line with my flyer and the vaccine mandates. The law is already on the governor's desk that anybody who says anything against the COVID-19 narrative could lose their license.
Thank you.
My question is for Dr. Boone. Last year, I attended several meetings at the school boards. We were told multiple times our hands are tied by the school board members themselves, and they did not want to hear or respond to parent questions most of the time. What would you do to help us parents have a voice or correspond with you better?
I think that that's an excellent question. I guess there's some kind of a Brown Act, because I had to read through all the stuff from the administration, that we cannot respond during the meeting. But I think that we need to create a time, maybe find out when we can meet, be there an hour before, be there an hour after, and try to at least listen to the questions. If we can't answer them then, come back with the answer for you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Judith. I'd like to thank each of you for your presence here today. I'm very impressed with the credentials of all of you and very thankful that within this community we have people of your caliber. So first off, thank you. General George Patton years ago said extremely difficult and challenging times require people of great strength, courage that can stand up to challenges. And so amidst my many questions that I have, I'll just boil it down to one. In the event, as this progressive liberal agenda seems to be on the creep at our American institutions, how would you specifically stand up against the liberal agenda that is creeping within American school systems? Thank you.
Who's that question to?
Dr. Heidi. Thank you.
Thank you. So as far as courage, leadership, and strength, I have been an educational leader for many years. That's what I do. I work with parents, I work with students, I work with staff, I work with teachers, right? And so we have to come together to decide what is best for our students to meet their individual needs. That is what education is about. It's educating the students and getting them prepared for college, career, and life. And that's what I will do.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm short. My question is for Mr. Miller. You said a word that struck a lot of us, unions, and so my question is going to be pointed towards you. I understand unions they're there, they do fit some type of purpose, and Ms. Bannister, who's not here, loves her union. So my question to you is, how do you plan to be the keeper at the gate between the union and your students?
Yeah, what was your first name again, ma'am?
Erica.
Erica, that's a great question. It's great to get supported by people and endorsed by people, but anybody that's worked with me over the years, I make my own decisions. And I'm not swayed by anybody's, I'll listen to everybody, But I will base my decisions on fact, of what are legal, moral, and ethical at the time we're doing something. There's so many myriad of issues that can come up over a school year, over a couple of years. You know, I hear CRT is mentioned quite a bit. I hear it on the campaign trail. You're not going to see it here in Yucaipa. It's not going to happen, you know. And I teach at the university. Many of you know I'm an adjunct professor up there, and I teach in the MPA program. And many of the students come through. I listen to kind of what they think about that, but it's not even pushed at the university level. We're really not going to see what we're hearing is in the community. I know in Yucaipa we're not going to see it.
Thank you.
It's not a reality.
Okay, hi, my name is Pearl Wardlow, and I have 4 children, of which go to private Christian school until 5th grade, and then they enter the public school system here in Yucaipa. I've read very disturbing things regarding the incoming ethnic studies curriculum made law by the passing of AB 101. Things like requiring kids to say a pledge to Aztec gods, and the putting down and demonizing of the history of the spread of Protestant Christian ideals and values. This is addressed to Dr. Terry first. What will you do to ensure that a thorough review of any and all ethnic studies curriculum initiated by AB 101 will be conducted to protect conservative, patriotic, and Christian values in our schools? Yes, I'm sorry.
Well, I think that that's a super important question, and I've been asked by the Civil Review Board if I would review curriculum for the upcoming curriculum. I believe it's 2024. So I'm going to say something, again, very controversial. I am a 3%er, the 3% of people who get up and do stuff. Okay, so I would love to have people who have expertise in history, math, and other things be able to review curriculum too, and to put little sticky notes to end it.
Thank you.
First, thank you all for being here today and allowing us to ask questions of you. My question is for Dr. Heidi. Dr. Heidi, it's actually a 3-part, but combined in one. In the old days, the American flag was not unusual to be seen in classrooms. The Pledge of Allegiance was said every day. My question to you is, would you be willing to make sure that the American flag is the only flag put in the classroom, and that every day students would have to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? If the religion prohibits pledging allegiance to a flag, at least stand at attention in respect to those who appreciate the flag?
Thank you for your question. I am a conservative. I love our country. I shared with you my son is in the Navy, so I completely understand where you're coming from. Yes, we should be pledging allegiance to our great nation. That doesn't mean our nation is perfect. That's why collaboration and conversations with parents, students, teachers, and staff are important, so that we can work together to address issues in education. But as far as honoring and valuing our servicemen, our country, people who protect us, absolutely.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. This question is directed to either Heidi, Terry, or Bob. Either one of you can answer. This is in relation to your role on school board in working with the district leadership and how their policies filter down to the schools and their administrators and so on. So here's my question. How will you involve parents in a meaningful way in curriculum development? At what point in the process of choosing curriculum and implementing the curriculum would you involve parents?
So if I could answer that question, I'm very familiar with the curriculum and adoption policies. So usually what happens is there are some curriculums that are recommended by the state, and then the teachers then review those curriculums, and then they make a decision about what curriculums they would like to use, and then the parents are invited to come see the curriculum that was already chosen. That is not a very collaborative process with any parent rights or any parent's voice. Parents need to be at the table before the curriculum is chosen to also be able to look at it, ask questions, talk about their strengths and concerns, and be able to give vital input before a curriculum is already adopted and approved by school board.
Thank you.
the first part of the question was, what is the role of working with administration? Clearly, if you're an elected official, your role is policy. You hire professionals, the superintendent and staff, that run operations. I clearly understand that distinction as being a staff member in the past. So the role is policymaker, operations is run by the district staff with oversight from the board. So when it comes to curriculum, yes, you have to include the community. Anybody that wants to be involved should be included in that. Especially when you're a parent or a grandparent, you should have a choice and a voice in what happens to your children. But clearly there is a demarcation between policy and operations. And if operations aren't running effectively, then you hire people that run operations effectively. That's what you do. And that's really the role of the board. It is to oversee from a policy directed position.
Thank you. Was that a three-part question, or?
Okay, sorry, me again. I guess this would be more directed to Dr. Heidi because you are in my district. Or at least I think you are. I don't know how far 38 it goes, but that's where I'm at. Anyway, my question to you would be, as in your position, in your educational experience background now, as far as teacher recruitment, what is your vision for teacher recruitment? Because we can all say policy this, policy that, but when we're hiring teachers that are, you know, putting pride flags in their room and expecting our students to bend into something that they're not raised to bend to at home, what is your position and what is your plan to implement more responsible teacher recruitment?
Thank you. So one of my priorities is quality education. In order to be able to provide that, we must have teachers, right, who are high quality. And when you compare our teachers' salaries compared to neighboring districts, we're the lowest. So that's number one. Also with classified staff, we need to ensure that we are paying our teachers adequately. You get what you pay for, right? And then involving practices and teachers' practices, a lot of that has to do with implementing a policy. Do we have a policy about that here in Yucaipa? What is allowed and what is not allowed as far as teaching practices go? So we need to look at the ed code, we need to look at the teacher contract, we need to look at the board policy and make sure those are all in alignment. And then have administration do walkthroughs and hold teachers accountable to what our policy and guidelines are.
Anita Rhodes again. My question to Dr. Heidi is, what are your thoughts about the Marxist LGBTQ agenda, its influence, and what I mean by their influence is the promotion of transgenderism, the thought that there are multiple genders, and that type of ideology, and that replacing academics, and it's a three-parter, and would your career be impacted if you put our children's welfare above the school boards and the unions? And could you clarify whether or not you would permit, advance, or adamantly pull down the gay flag? Thank you.
Okay, so I am a fundamental experienced educator. I teach literacy. That's what I teach at the University of Redlands. Okay, so I really believe in fundamental getting back to the quality education of our students, making sure our students can read, write, do arithmetic, right? The 3 R's. So as far as implementing any critical theory, CRT, all of that, those things are not permissible and allowed in our classroom anywhere in California. Am I for that? No, I'm not for that. I'm for quality education for all of our students, preparing them to be successful adults. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Miller, this is questions for you. I realize the unions play a pretty significant role in what teachers can do and can't do. We've heard rumors recently that there's been some teachers in the Yucaipa School District that have either tried to sneak in their own agenda or failed to abide by some of the agendas that have been set. what would your position be, and would you be willing to stand up to those teachers and make sure they get the message?
Thank you. Again, understanding what the role of the board member is policy. Superintendent's office and staff takes care of operations and discipline. But I will say, this harkens back to 20 years ago and to going to community meetings where I hear about something my officers did in the field. You look into it. You find out if they're within policy. Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? But as far as decisions are made with me, I'm glad to have great support. I love the teachers in our district. I know many of them are wonderful teachers that really try to do a great job for our community. If there's that aberrant behavior that may occur with somebody, I'm sure it will be addressed by staff because it'll be reported to us. And I will definitely look into things, but I deal with fact, not conjecture. I will always try to find out what the rules are, what the law is, and how it was handled, and how the investigation went. I usually can read that pretty well.
Thank you.
This question is addressed to Dr. Heidi. I'm interested to know, what have you done on your current campus in terms of reviewing content of like library books and the curriculum in a curriculum review to ensure absolutely that all the sexual perversion that is being distributed is not present? And then how would that carry over as a Yucaipa school board member? Because I've been to school board meetings where parents read what's in the books, and it's not good.
Thank you for your question. And that's exactly how I will perform my duties once elected. My leadership skills and educational experience will easily transition over to school board because I'm pretty much already doing these jobs, right? I've been doing it for many years. I've been on curriculum council. I've been on benchmarks assessment council. I've been on all the leadership councils inside of San Bernardino City. And myself, I'm very knowledgeable in curriculum and instruction. It's one of my biggest strengths because as an educator, you need to know what you're teaching, right? You need to know the standards, how to pace it, how to assess it. So going through and reviewing the curriculum and actually opening the books and looking at them myself and reading what's in there is something I will do because that's what I do. I read, I study. I want to know what's going on. So I have to educate myself before I can educate others.
Thank you.
Ms. Hernandez, we've all seen the videos on social media and television of young people on the street being asked who won the Civil War, and they have no idea, they have no clue. You can't make a question simple enough or easy enough for kids to answer nowadays. What can be done at the district level to make sure that kids are actually being taught facts, basic, important information, data that they need to know later in life?
That's true. A lot of children have no idea of much of anything. It's on. Can you not hear me? Okay, I have a teacher's voice, so I'll just talk really loud or use another mic. Turn that one off so we don't get reverb. Thank you. Okay. So I agree with you. Students are not really being taught, and it starts down at the elementary level. And it's also parent involvement. We as a community need to be involved. When it comes to the curriculum, we need to be looking at those books. What if they are not teaching it? Are they using a different book that we don't even know about? They do have curriculum meetings. I was involved, and they're actually now allowing the community to be at the beginning, not the end, and that's due to your Civil Review Board. I learned a lot that day, and I could tell you that we need to be involved. That's the only way we could guarantee that the books are provided correct in the correct information and that the teachers are following that. They might be given a guideline on what to teach, but they don't always teach that. And that's understandable, but we need to make sure that it's being done in what's best interest of our kids. The teachers need to be held accountable, parents need to be held accountable, administration needs to be held accountable, and as a school board member, we're able to make sure that policy is being enforced. If it's not written to do so, then we
Okay, this is for Mr. Miller. In order to protect, this is sad, first of all, that I'm even asking this question, but in order to protect our kids, will you look into finding ways, funding, to provide for the school board or the county, state, city, whatever, to provide bulletproof inserts that go into kids' backpacks that they have now, probably available on Amazon. Who knows?
Yeah, great question, Mr. Wardle. Good to see you again. And, you know, School security, clearly, there is many ways to obtain money. I spent my career writing grants and dealing with issues to get bulletproof vests, et cetera, from the federal government. It'll be my #1 priority to make sure our students are safe. Now, again, we're always preparing for that high-risk, low-frequency event. We never know when it's going to happen, but it could happen. Tomorrow, somebody could hop over a fence and something can happen, right? But if you put the training protocols in place, you actually train, you have a great relationship with our first responders here, you will be able to react and recover from that incident. We hope it never happens. God, I never want that to happen to one of our schools here. But anything that's available to protect our kids, I will support. My grandkids go too. And you know, when you drop them off as a parent or grandparent, you just want them to be safe and have a great day and be inspired by a teacher.
Thank
and
you.
To have, okay, thank you.
Yeah, all right. So my question would be for candidate Miller as well, and that was pretty much the same question. Bob, with your experience as a police chief, how does that specifically manifest itself to your duties on the school board? And if maybe it's the same answer, but if you want to elaborate.
Well, it's a bonus question now for you, buddy. So
Probably right to the budget. Because I did a little horse trading when I was chief at Colton. I would try to pay for a couple of SROs, one in the high school for sure, one in the middle school for sure, and then maybe have a backup one so when somebody's on training or vacation, I had a replacement. So you definitely have to have one at the high school and at least at one of the middle schools. So I would trade off, well, we'll pay for crossing guards this year if you'll play for one SRO school district. And the school district was great working with us because they wanted safety also. Or they would say, I'm trying to see if she's waving at me, or you trade off something else. You have to have a relationship. I was encouraged from the council tonight, the candidates, that they want to work with the school district. I propose we meet at least twice a year as a agendized meeting where we get together and talk about these issues. So I think I'm being cut off, but definitely it is doable, Josh, to your question.
All right, Mr. Miller, not picking on you. It seemed like we're hammering on you a bit, but I've been in the lumber industry for about 23 years. My main customer base is the steel industry that I service, and those are two dying industries. And part of the reason they're dying is because we don't have interest from kids coming out of schools. We've eliminated metal shop, we've eliminated wood shop, we don't have any of that anymore. What would you do to implement some of those programs back in our school system?
Oh, I'm for the trades. I had conversations last night at the Autumn Fest. How about auto shop, Bob? And let me tell you how we need to have some people coming into our workforce right now. I'm for it. Yeah. You have to find a way to fund it, right? And you can have any candidate come up here and say, yeah, we'll do all that. But you have to find a way to fund it. I've always been pretty good with a budget. There is some wiggle room at times. There's not a lot because it's mandated by the state. But there are some grant money available to try to be able to do things. You just got to write a good grant. And you got to get somebody from Congress to back you. And you got to go make a trip. And then they fund you. That's how it works, realistically. I've been on these trips enough. But I'm for that because not everybody's going to want to go to college and maybe get their BA in accounting. They may want to say, hey, I'd like to be able to rebuild an engine. I'd like to be able to do some woodwork. I'd like to be able to do something else. Be a great electrician and probably make more money than teachers, right?
Thank you.
This question is for Ms. Hernandez. Over the years, UKIPA has had, and this is kind of a follow-up to the question that was just given, it's almost identical. UKIPA has kind of gotten away from vocational ed. They used to have a Future Farmers program up here, and like the fellas previously said, they had metal shops and all sorts of things. I would like to know what your feeling would be on trying to promote more vocational education into the UKIPA school district.
So I I think trades are very important. Not all kids even want to go to college. Some kids can't go to college. Some can't afford college. We need trade schools. We need to be able to have these kids graduate and have a future. We did used to have a lot of that out here. I was glad to hear when I spoke with Callie, the superintendent, that there are a few classes available, but it's not on campus. So we need to bring it back. We need these kids to have it available, and we need to find the money through budgeting, volunteer time. We have a lot of academy classes at the school. The engineering people, we have 5 or 6 engineering companies right here in Yucaipa. Get in there and teach these kids, you know, talk to them. Give them the opportunity to succeed in the future.
Thank you.
Me again, since I can't ask more than one of you at a time for the question. But I'd like to preface my question with this. We understand that there is no formal curriculum for CRT, but it's a different ball game now. We're here because it's being taught. We saw it during COVID. So denying that is just disingenuous, in my opinion. Now, it's a different ball game now also. It used to be easy, but now it's difficult for teachers. This ball game now is about indoctrinating our children instead of teaching them reading, writing, and arithmetics. And it's about persecuting you teachers if you don't capitulate and do just that. So my question is, where are you? What is your response? Whose job is it to teach our children homosexuality, about their genders, and all of that? Is it the teachers, the school's responsibility, or is it the parents? And I would like for Dr. Heidi and Dr. Boone, please.
The sex ed, whether it's gender or sex or whatever, that's the parents' job. The only thing that I think should be taught at the high school level would be, and I'll just be blunt, if you have sex, you can get pregnant and get disease. Next subject. So it would be, you know, be abstinent or protect yourself. And here's the options for protecting yourself. That is it. That's the end of the story as far as sex ed.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree. Those issues are definitely issues that need to be taught in the home. Parents need to take on the responsibility to teach their children about sex education. In addition, the state does require that we do health and education through PE. That's done in the 9th grade curriculum. So the reviewing of that curriculum should be a process that's collaborative with parents involved, so that you guys and we can have voices in what that curriculum looks like and what is being taught in the schools. It's part of health. So do we work together with our parents in our communities to ensure our students are being educated correctly? Yes. Am I for social reform? No.
Thank you. These will be the last 3 questions that are up here, and then we'll go to closing statements.
I want to preface. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm used to interrupting.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you. Some of you know I'm a neuropsychologist. The last few years I have seen countless families and especially teens come into my office with off-the-charts anxiety, depression, suicidality, self-harm, distress, and a lot of it's coming from school. So my question, I feel like Dr. Boone, you would be the most qualified to answer this. How can you all work together to help create or support some kind of better environment for the kids at school? Yeah, a lot of it's coming from the curriculum, I'm sorry. I like what this lady said here. You can deny it. It's happening. It's happening anyway. So how will you all address that and support our kids?
Well, I think that I would divert it over to, instead of taking away their hope, like I said in my 3-minute opening, I would give them hope. I agree with the vocational training. Future Farmers of America, we are a rural community. How would it be to take the kids out gardening at the school, teach them how to grow their own food, art and music, and all the things that are positive to give as a gift to the children to divert their attention from the gossip and drama bologna sauce.
Thank you.
I have to preface what I'm saying by reminding you, I taught in the public school system for over 20 years. I have a son and a grandson who are teachers. But I still have to ask this question of Dr. Boone and Bob. Knowing that many, if not most, of the goals of the teachers union are not necessarily in line with solid teaching and best practices, how do you intend to address these issues if they arise? Dr. Boone.
I don't kowtow to any union, number one. And so as far as, you know, I believe from what I've read, the school board makes the policy, like Bob said. And we let the teachers know before day one what our expectations are.
Thank you.
And Bob?
Boy, good to see you.
Thanks, but
And
answer the question.
And I know your son and your grandson are great teachers. And that's the
Yeah, they are.
example I know.
Yeah,
That's
they
the
are.
teachers I know that are wonderful teachers. Of course, there's accountability if there's something that is way out of whack that somebody's trying to teach that's not within policy or good government as we know it, that's illegal, moral, and ethical. Of course you address the issue.
Okay.
It's easy to say, broad brush, you know, which ones would you address? As they come forward, you deal with them.
Okay.
And clearly, you have a background about what you're saying. I agree. And it's something we have to be ahead of and be aware of. But when it comes forward, you just deal with it. You investigate it and find out.
Good.
Thank you.
Good answer.
Hi there. Hi, Bob. Hi, Dr. Terry Boone. I'm really glad you guys are all here today. Dr. Boone, I just want to personally thank you for taking a stand for our kids and for putting your career on the line. You are my doctor, and you have been constant. I have known you over the last several years, and you've spoken out, and I know where you work, and it's a hard place to be, and I just want to thank you for that. So thank you. Bob, my question's more for you, actually, because we've had kids in the district. We actually had to pull our youngest out of the district because you're big on safety, and I understand that. And I am big on safety too, and I love our officers, and we fully support them here. But there's more than just physical safety. There's emotional, mental, and physical in the sense of health safety. And with the COVID nonsense, I'm sorry, I mean, the things that went on, some of it was nonsense. And because I'm a God-fearing woman, we don't bow down to fear. We don't have fear if we know the Lord. So, but my kids were forced to do things that they could not do, like wear a mask. I have a daughter that has asthma. She can't do it, so she could not go to school. Sorry, okay, I'm going on. Anyway, so if it were to happen again, where Governor Newsom says, this is the way it is, and masks and vaccines and blah, 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 what would you do? Where would you stand?
Well, there's a lot, Christine, good to see you again. It's a lot packed into there, and I am aware of that situation that you talked about with your children, which is unacceptable, what happened. Clearly, there have to be controls in place so these things don't happen. We can talk about physical and police security a lot, but we also need to talk about the mental health equation to this. They need to work together. What you see law enforcement doing now, they're bringing mental health professionals in with the officers to work for the many issues that people are feeling. After COVID, it just changed everything. There's all these unintended consequences of how kids feel about themselves now, how kids are picking on each other, how the anxiety level's high, and being told they have to wear a mask when it may cause a physical problem. It's the parent's choice what happens with their kids. You decide what happens with your kids. If you want your kids to wear a mask, then you tell your kids to wear a mask if you think that's safe. If you don't think it is, then they don't wear it. I mean, I don't know if that'll come up again, but it could. You know, we got another wave coming in December, right? It could.
Appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Well, let's give these guys a round of applause for coming out. We're going to wrap this up with 1 minute closing statements. 1 minute closing statements. Okay? 1 minute closing statements. We'll start with you, Heidi, on the left, and we'll work to the right.
Thank you, and thank you guys for all your good questions and for drilling us up here so that we could be a little bit more transparent. So I'm running for school board on 3 issues. Parents' rights. I believe there's a lot of parents' rights advocates in this room, and your voice needs to be heard. Second issue is school safety and mental health. I know the issues going on with bullying, what's going on in the restrooms, what's going on with our students. I speak to the students. Students feel like they're not heard as well. Lastly, quality education for all, which includes our students with special needs. The 504 plans need to be followed. If they're not, things happen. And I'm very well aware of the lawsuits and the tragedy that's occurred because of these issues. So I believe that we need a fundamental return to educations with skills and knowledge, and that I've also heard it once said that our children are our greatest asset. And if you believe that, then I ask for your support. Vote Dr. Heidi for Trustee Area 5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think you've already heard what I'm against, so I'll tell you what I'm for now. Drug-free and school safety, vocational training opportunities. I've spoken with the manager of Southern California Edison, and he said that he can come in and tell the young people what math classes to take so that when they turn 18, they can start right away in the vocational training program with Edison. Excellent AP classes. I've also met and had lunch with the teacher who did the Future Farmers America in Yucaipa for 30, 40 years, and he's wonderful in giving me all kinds of good ideas. So my recommendation to you is find out what are your priorities, pick the candidates who best match your priorities and values, and the candidates who you feel have the backbone to stand by them.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming. It's time consuming. As I've been out canvassing, it's just been so enjoyable to meet with so many people and to find so many like-minded. Our kids are our priority and they need to be treated as such. My goal as your new board member is to always be able to listen to anybody, not just Area 4, which is all who can vote for me, but everybody. Parents have the right. They need to be allowed to speak. They need to be heard, and they need to be allowed to be involved. I am retired, and I will dedicate my next however many years to making sure kids and families are first.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and I want to thank the panel for being up here. I know it's tough when you're campaigning, but we've kind of all agreed we're going to be nice to each other. I think that's the way campaigns should run, and I know I'm sticking to it, and that's what we need to do. You know, no matter what happens in this campaign and who's elected, I think we're going to be okay. You know, as Hebrews 13:8 tells us, Jesus Christ will be the same yesterday and today and forever. So November 9th, no matter what happens, we still have Jesus, and that's important to remember. My experience is early in my career as a U.S. Army veteran, I learned that you do better when you work together. That is one of the things that I've put in my statements, as you'll see. But I've got more out of working together with people with positive leadership, not negativity, being positive about solving problems. I think it's the key to building the right culture. And there's no reason the Yucaipa-Calamasa School District can't be a model for the state of California. I want to state that. And whatever stipend we get, I think it's $240, and you get some benefits. I will be donating mine to the schools. Baseball, whatever, gets a new baseball bats. Though I don't think you can buy a baseball bat for $240 anymore. But for personally, because I'm retired and have a great retirement, I'm blessed just to be able to run.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you guys all for coming out today. I appreciate that very much. And I wanted to say thank you to everyone that's here. You're part of this community, and we all care about what goes on here. So thank you for being engaged. If you have not heard of the Civil Review Board, or you want to get involved with the Civil Review Board, come find us after this. At this point in time, we're going to exit everybody out here to the patio where you can engage with the candidates one-on-one. We're going to run this till about 3 o'clock. So I encourage you to engage with them, ask them questions, get to know them. Also, if you have children down in the daycare rooms, please pick them up at this point in time. And I want to say thank you again from the Civil Review Board for everyone coming out here today. Thank you.